បកស្រាយនៅសំណួររបស់អ្នកសារព័ត៌មានរបស់យើងដែលនឹងពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងប្រធានបទគឺការងារទប់ស្កាត់ប្រយុទ្ធប្រឆាំងទៅនឹងការរីករាលដាលនៃជំងឺ Covid-19 ដែលកំពុងតែរាតត្បាតជាសកលនៅលើពិភពលោកនៅក្នុងនោះព្រះរាជាណាចក្រកម្ពុជារបស់យើងមកដល់ពេលនេះក៏មិនទាន់មានការថមថយទេដែលរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលក៏ដូចជាអាជ្ញាធរថ្នាក់ខេត្តបានដាក់ចេញវិធានការជាបន្តបន្ទាប់ហើយប្រកប
Are you ready? Just guys, as we go, listen to me very carefully, please.
Okay. You go. Intro.
A very good morning to you. This Sunday, the 1st of August 2021, a historic day in the kingdom. You are watching a live EAC News special event. A very good morning to you and welcome. My name is Andrew Barnes-Roberts. We have Rhea Soko over at the Peace Palace on Russian Boulevard, which this morning has become a vaccination centre. The Prime Minister's grandchildren being the first children in Cambodia to receive their first dose of the Sinovac vaccine. That's our live shot there. In fact, let's go to Rhea Soko. Rhea, good morning to you. You've been outside the Peace Palace for about the past half hour or so. What have you been able to see? All right, Rhea seems to be having some trouble hearing us, but let's just go to the Peace Palace now. The Prime Minister arrived about 10 minutes ago. He's lining up there with his grandchildren.
Palace.
This footage courtesy of TVK. Rhea Soko, there you are. Rhea, can you hear me? Nope, we've clearly got some gremlins in our link to the Peace Palace, but never mind. Let's just continue to take this footage from our friends at TVK. Media numbers extremely limited inside the Peace Palace this morning, given obviously the risk to the Prime Minister of further exposure. He's been in quarantine 3 times already in the past 18 months. He did express the sentiment a few weeks ago that he had no intention of being in quarantine a 4th time. So media numbers extremely limited. And again, we're receiving that footage from inside the Peace Palace, courtesy of TVK. We understand that in fact, as we see there, the vaccinations are actually underway. The first of the grandchildren sitting there now having his arm cleaned and about to have that injection shot. Some cabinet ministers and some fairly anxious parents keeping an eye on their children receiving those vaccinations. I think most of us watching can remember our first shot a few months ago, and that sense of apprehension. Not all of us are big fans of needles, myself included, but I think everyone would agree it's actually relatively painless. Regarding pain, the scientists say that's about the only side effect that children can expect from Sinovac vaccines. The Lancet Medical Journal and Sinovac itself both releasing studies in the past few weeks indicating that as far as children were concerned, the only side effect that children were experiencing was a little bit of pain around the injection site itself, which is a common side effect reported by most adults. Speaking personally, I had a bit of a bad stomach for 24 hours after my first shot and hardly any side effects at all the second time. So yeah, we understand this is the first child in Cambodia, aged 12 to 17, to be receiving their Sinovac shot in full view of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, of course, 5 living children, and it's their children who are receiving vaccinations this morning. Here we go. While the Peace Palace is a vaccination centre this morning, there are vaccination centres opening at 8 o'clock this morning, not only in Phnom Penh, but Kandal, Preah Sihanouk and Koh Kong as well. It is Sinovac vaccines that are being rolled out for children. They're being rolled out in China for children as young as 3. But Cambodia becomes the 3rd country in the world to be rolling out Sinovac vaccines for children after China and Indonesia, which started administering vaccines for children aged 12 to 17 as well. That was at the end of May. We understand from the Health Ministry this weekend that the shots of AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson that have been arriving over the past couple of days and will be arriving next week, those are being sent straight to the 8 border provinces where the vaccination drive is being accelerated amidst fears of the Delta variant spreading further in the community. The advantage, of course, with the Johnson & Johnson shot particularly is that it is a one-shot vaccine. Over 1 million doses being provided by the United States. And of course, that's just one shot, so that's a huge boost. Looking at some studies that were released on the 1st of July by Johnson & Johnson, saying that the vaccine was highly effective against the Delta variant. AstraZeneca, the other vaccine that will be used along the border, 67% effective against the Delta variant. That was according to Reuters on the 22nd of July. As far as Sinovac and Delta is concerned, studies are underway. We know from the company itself that they said on the 30th of July that Sinovac was effective against Delta variant. Of course, no vaccine is going to be 100% effective, particularly against a variant that is upwards of 300% more transmissible than the original coronavirus. There was a report from the Centers for Disease Control in the United States just yesterday describing the Delta variant as transmissible and contagious as chickenpox. That gives you a really good idea of just how strong the Delta variant is. But Sinovac is developing a specific vaccine against the Delta variant. And just given how quickly China's been able to move with vaccines, I don't think it'll be long before that particular variant vaccine is available to Cambodia. Rhea, I see you on the screen. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can definitely hear you, Andrew.
Thank you. Good morning to you, Ray. You've been there since just
after
I can
7
hear
o'clock
this morning. Just give us an idea of the arrivals.
It's a bit windy today.
You were outside the Council of Ministers about an hour ago. Obviously a lot of staff in PPE and obviously a huge degree of health, safety and security going on there this morning.
Yes, Andrew, based on what we have seen inside the Peace Palace, because I managed to go inside the palace and also in front of the Council of Ministers building, there were several military personnel and also medical professionals that are on standby outside the Peace Palace. On the right side of the Peace Palace, Andrew, we have seen there was a table where all the health professionals wearing PPE suits, they're conducting a test. Taking test samples for COVID-19. They are using rapid antigen tests to test those officials, also children going inside the Peace Palace that will be participating for the launching of the children's vaccination, children aged 12 to 17. We have seen the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Orvandin, and also the Secretary of the State of the Ministry of Health, Ms. Yuk Sambat. They were very early. At 7 o'clock, they were already at the Peace Palace, and they were conducting, they were taking samples, and once you test negative, then they are allowed to go inside the Peace Palace. But if the rapid antigen test says positive, then they won't allow to, of course, because it's for the safety of the individuals and of course the Prime Minister Hun Sen, who will officiate the launching of the children's vaccination here in Cambodia at Phnom Penh today and this Sunday morning, which is simultaneous in the provinces of Pria Sihanouk, Koh Kong, and also in Kandal province, Andrew.
As you're talking, Rhea, we've got footage from inside the Peace Palace. We saw then moved to the Peace Palace. I think just in case, in terms of numbers and obviously social distancing being extremely important there. As you mentioned, all that additional security, there is the Prime Minister with his arm there around one of his grandchildren. Obviously playing the role not only of Prime Minister of the Kingdom this morning, but also of a caring grandparent. Rhea, we've got quite a delay on that line, so just to explain to our viewers that it's taking a few seconds for you to hear me and for me to hear you. What do we understand about what's happening at vaccination centres across Phnom Penh, Kandal, Koh Kong and Praia Sihanouk?
What we have understood, Andrew, this is the launching is only here in Phnom Penh, but this is conducted simultaneously in the provinces of Praia Sihanouk, Koh Kong, and also in Kandal provinces. Initially, the Ministry of Health says the priority is Phnom Penh, and then after Phnom Penh, it will be followed by Kandal, and then Sihanoukville, and then Koh Kong was even not mentioned, but because of the cases that keeps rising in those provinces, the royal government of Cambodia has decided to do it simultaneously. And also, as we have known, there were millions of doses of different vaccines that arrived in Cambodia last week. The AstraZeneca from Japan through COVAX facility, and then the Johnson & Johnson's from United States, and the Sinovac yesterday, additional 1 million doses, and there are more vaccines coming. But the Sinovac is based on what the Ministry of Health informed us and informed the public, that the Sinovac is what will be used for the children, since China, the producer of the Sinovac, they are also using it for children, even children from 3 years old up to 17. And here in Cambodia, they're only using it for children aged 12 to 17.
As we understand, Rhea, we had 1 million doses of Sinovac yesterday. We've got millions more doses of that over the next weeks.
Yes, Andrew, the Ministry of Health says yesterday, that was Saturday, yesterday, that by middle of August, they were expecting that the total doses of vaccines that Cambodia has received will already reach 26 million. So they are targeting 70 to 80% of the total population of Cambodia that will be inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine. That is to build community immunity. That is also the reason why the Prime Minister, the royal government of Cambodia, has decided to vaccinate the children and to young adults, not only the adults from 18 above, but also these children aged 12 to 17 in preparation of school reopening, and also to build a community immunity. That was what the Ministry of Health and Prime Minister keep saying, that it is to build immunity in the community. And he has also seen that the children are being affected, especially those in secondary high school. They are so affected with the closure, and the learning is really different when it comes to physical and online classes. So hopefully, with the children being vaccinated in Cambodia, sooner the schools, especially the secondary levels, will reopen here in Cambodia.
All right, Rhea Soko, thank you very much indeed. We're going to cut it there. Let's just go back to the Peace Palace. Live footage provided to us courtesy of TVK. The Prime Minister appears to be making his way towards one of the other areas where more of his grandchildren, there they are, waiting for their vaccinations. We're expecting some comments from the Prime Minister. We'll bring those to you live with the help of a sign language interpreter, as well as a live simultaneous translation. The Prime Minister making his way over to the desk to thank those officials. We're going to let Rhea Soko decamp from outside the Peace Palace and head across to one of the child vaccination centres, and we'll cross to her live there a little bit later this morning. But again, let's just watch these visuals. The Prime Minister getting his hands sanitized and moving across the Peace Palace. We said to you earlier, we are expecting some live comments from the Prime Minister this morning, officially kicking off the vaccination program for children. If you're just joining us here on EAC News, very good morning to you on this Sunday, the 1st of August. A historic day in the Kingdom of Cambodia, barely 6 months after the first shots went into adults' arms at the beginning of February this year. So here we are 6 months later, vaccinations for children now being rolled out. An estimated 2 million children to be inoculated with the Sinovac vaccine at 21-day intervals, not the 14 days that was initially scheduled for adults, particularly in the capital. The Health Ministry clearly mindful of the relatively low efficacy rates against the virus that 14-day interval was providing. And let's be clear, that's the absolute minimum recommended by the World Health Organization. The decision was taken at the very beginning of July to extend that dose interval to a full 21 days. And just that extra 7 days with Sinovac takes that efficacy level from the low 50% all the way up to around 79 to 80%. We do know that the Sinovac vaccine is particularly effective in children who are at a very low risk of developing serious COVID. The Prime Minister now about to make some comments. Again, we have a live English translation for simultaneous translation as well as sign language interpretation. The Prime Minister, having thanked his grandchildren for being so brave this morning to take those vaccinations first. Obviously a display of public confidence in Sinovac for children, Cambodia becoming the third country in the world to roll out Sinovac vaccines for children after China and Indonesia. 12 to 17-year-olds in the target audience, 2 million children to be vaccinated over the next 3 to 4 weeks in Phnom Penh, Kandal, Preah Sihanouk and Koh Kong. We're just standing by waiting for the Prime Minister to speak, and again we'll take that address live. In the meantime, EAC news reporter Reo Soko is going to move to a child vaccination centre and hopefully be able to speak to a couple of parents or get some shots at least of children being among the first to receive their vaccines. But the programme now officially underway, having been launched at the Peace Palace. Let's go back now to the Peace Palace. The Prime Minister making those comments, a live simultaneous translation being provided for you. You're with EAC.
ថ្ងៃនេះយើងបានរួមគ្នាដើម្បីបើកយុទ្ធនាការចាក់វ៉ាក់សាំងសម្រាប់កុមារនិងយុវវ័យរបស់យើងដែលបញ្ហានេះមិនមែនជាការរៀបចំដោយចៃដន្យទេក៏ប៉ុន្តែយើងបានគិតគូរ
through a sort of a decision so that we have laid out today a campaign at the same time that we have been implementing for adult age from above 18 years old. So the vaccination for children and teenagers today is a very important step to create immunity in the community. We also know that we have said previously, so children are the backbone of the society. If they are not healthy, we won't have the good bamboo shoot for the future development. Another part, the consequence that has been posed during COVID-19 has been severely affect on the human resource development at almost every country. The schools are closed. This is the point that we are considering, that we are preparing to make sure that we can reopen the school from secondary school and above. Today's conference and the launching of the campaign that we have seen earlier, I just observed the vaccination process of my grandchildren. Later, there are more children that have to be vaccinated today in Phnom Penh city and in Sihanoukville. Kong province, Kandal province. So Kandal province, do we launch today as well? Yes, we do. We need to vaccinate around another 2 million people who age from 12 to 17 years old. For today, I would like to inform that before there were many press person for the press conference, we have to reduce the number of the press, of the journalists, and we need to lower the number of the journalists and the press person, and they have to go through the rapid test as well, and also the PCR. Yesterday they have to get tested by the PCR, and before entering this building they have to go through the rapid test as well. Even me myself, I have to be controlled as well. I have to be checked in advance as well. This is a new normal of our daily life for our country, not only for our country but other countries as well. And for today's press conference, it's not only for the press. It's not only for only the press to broadcast only, but we intend to announce to broadcast to people nationwide. So question of your question will be my answer for our people nationwide. So today press conference, I would like to emphasize that I give opportunity to the press to ask question first. So please prepare a question. Before first, previously I normally deliver the speech before I welcome the question. For today, I would like to welcome the question first. So when you are preparing your question, allow me to have a quick remark on some issue that should be addressed. So in the past, we have done several tasks that the public has also known about that. We allow the home treatment. That this is one of the way in many ways in solving of the shortage of hospital. In other countries, they follow this. They use this solution. The hospital also just welcome the severe case only, and the rest, the mild case have to be use home treatment. This is one of the solution to solve the shortage of hospital, but to also solve the problem of the family and also the infected person themselves to have a proper place for treatment. We also allow like some private companies to buy a vaccine to distribute in our country, so that Cambodian people have more options to be vaccinated when there is need. We also allow private sector and Cambodian people to use rapid tests at companies and also in the families. Now, now people can use the rapid test. It is very convenient when they are doubtful about themselves. They can use the rapid test. This is one of the strategy in searching for the COVID-19. If we can spot the COVID-19 case quick, we can manage it fast as well. For example, they got tests and then they find it, so we can properly, easily manage. So we can manage those positive cases better, and when they get the result of the test, they can isolate themselves from the family as well. So the delay of time, like just only 1 or 2 days, this person will transmit the disease to other people. This is one of the strategy in many other strategies in controlling the situation as fast as possible. In the past, I haven't seen Ministry of Tourism has written the report to request for the permission from Ministry of Health and the National Commission combating COVID-19. I know that they are discussing about the reopening of some hotels. Some hotel has been converted to hospitals. Now we are in the interval that should be complete. This is my consideration. So we have a public hospital and a health center of mild symptom, mild case that we have now around 100,000 cases in Phnom Penh, and some private hospital that has high cost. So now a private sector recently has worked with Ministry of Tourism, planning to convert the hotel, some of the hotel that charge lower comparing to the private hospital, because there are some people who can afford. There are some people who cannot afford to pay that much for a private hospital, but they don't want to be staying at the crowded place as well. They want to be in a private room. So with this request, I would like to give my my recommendation. Ministry of Health should consider about that, should think about that. So the problem is on the doctor. So if we can do this, those who have average living standard, they might want to do this. They don't want to stay in a crowded place with hundreds of people. So they can't afford to pay that much for the private hospital, but they are willing to pay. They might be willing to pay for these lower costs, and they don't want to be staying at home for treatment because they are afraid that it will be spread to their family members. So they can go to the hotel, like instead of welcoming the tourists. So the hotel gets paid from the patient instead, and the staff of the hotel who are willing to who serve the food to the patient, will have the job and then they will get paid. But our government should also provide support, medical support to this kind of service as well. And the medical professional should be paid, get some payment from this assistant as well. This is one of the one of the point that we are considering. But what is important that I want to inform and seek for the understanding from our people is that I would like to appeal for the participation from our people is that. So in the past, on 28th of July, a few days ago, we have laid out a government circular on strengthening the measure to prevent and suppress the spread of COVID-19, as well as the decision to lock down Koh Kong, Posat, Battambang, Pailen, Banteay Minh Chay, Udon Minh Chay, and Pravihir, and also Siem Reap temporarily for 14 days. So this point, when we lay out these action, it will be affecting some of the people. Of course, it will affect. So the travel ban, the curfew has been implemented again, and at some other province as well. That is the curfew from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. That this is affecting the freedom of movement of the people. This also affect the freedom of some people as well who travel across border from Cambodia to Thailand or from Thailand to Cambodia. But my dear compatriot, I ask for your kind understanding. Delta, which is a new variant, which is a very serious and cruel disease, is now affecting everyone in the world. So the statistic on the infection of the United States has now increased. So in the Europe, it also increased. So in another country in Asia, in Southeast Asia, except Brunei, Jerusalem, that has the very low infection rate. Even Laos, there are around 300 cases, new confirmed case in Laos. It was well managed in the past, but yesterday there was new 380 confirmed COVID-19 case. Laos was there was a very low infection case, like only like 1, 2, 3 or 9 cases per day. And then it increased to 2 digit now. It increased to 3 digits number of daily confirmed case. But what is interesting is that Singapore, which is a country that properly managed this, also experienced 3-digit number of newly confirmed cases as well. So Indonesia has been affected severely affected by COVID-19. Myanmar, Thailand, and also Cambodia, and also Vietnam as well. Vietnam in the past, recently, this morning, there are around 4,000 newly confirmed cases per day. There's around 4,000 cases already. And yesterday there were around 8,000 cases, and there were around 100 deaths as well. So Southeast Asia has been affected, has been struck by new variant data. Alpha alone, that is originated from England, it has been infected around 700,000 people, and there were around 1,000 deaths caused by Alpha variant. If we are careless about this, let Delta enter into our community, so imagine how many people will we lose. I would like to take this opportunity to express my condolence to the families of the death that has passed away caused by COVID-19. None of the country in this world can escape from COVID-19 and also the death caused by COVID-19. We don't use other countries to cover our weakness, but there are some people who criticize, like they compare between the time when we have no death and infection. So they said that Cambodia has no death, so other countries should find the medicine from our country. They teach us. Now they criticize that now we have a lot of newly confirmed cases and a lot of deaths. I would like to appeal to those who have two nationality and who are living in the country that you are living right now, such as United States or France or Germany or Switzerland or anywhere in the world who have two nationality, should ask the president of that country. For example, in France, why don't you ask French president why does the president allow the people to die from COVID-19? Why you just ask Cambodia? Why don't you ask the president of France? Why don't you ask Macron? So Macron also create the law. We also create the law as well. Why do you mention? Why do you comment that we oppress the freedom? So Macron, comparing Macron picture to Adolf Hitler. So why don't you ask French president? Even the president of the United States, Mr. Joe Biden, demand the official of the federation to get vaccinated. Shortly, it will become a mandatory vaccine. So vaccination or getting tested, I believe that shortly it will become a mandatory in both vaccine and test. If you don't get vaccinated, even there is no law, but it will be you will have to some requirement will require you to get vaccinated. For example, when you have to travel across the border, when you take the taxi or take the bus, so that the taxi driver will ask, do you get vaccinated already? Or if you don't get vaccinated, they will not drive you to the place you want. If you want to take the bus, they need a vaccine card as well. If you want to travel across the country, if you don't get the vaccine, you are not allowed to travel as well, even applying for a job as well. So I believe that it will become a mandatory shortly. I believe that everything that we have done is to support the freedom to life of the people, which is the most important right amongst other freedoms. Last day I talked at the Phnom Penh International Airport. I talked about the freedom to life. There are many people comment about human rights, but I would like to send my remark, my message to all beloved nephews and nieces. You are working for the human right under the roof of the school that everyone you working for the human resource organization under the roof of the school of Mr. Hun Sen. So it's the outcome of my my leadership. It's not that you come from another country. You root from the Cambodia. So the members of CPP, this is the result of the members of the CPP effort as well. So it's begin from the freedom to life. Of course, we cannot abandon the other rights, but other rights have to begin with the freedom to life. You have to remember, Hun Sen is not a normal politician. In managing power, in managing the power and leading the country for the past 42 years. And also the movement and plus a movement to liberate the country. I think I have enough experience to be your mentor or your professor. If you die, have you ever seen cops who exercise their freedom of speech, their freedom of movement through talking and through writing? It's not at all, right? So it's like you don't know about the Constitution, you don't understand the Human Rights Pact. If you watch the video clip back in 1992, back then UNTAC, like a few, very few UNTAC arrived Cambodia at the training center in Kandal. I was addressing about human rights. Back then was joined by Prince Chakapong as well. All rights has to begin with freedom to life. So that's, since then our everything was start from the freedom to life. So like yeah.